Can you imagine if that was Johnny Bones Jones fighting Tom Aspinall, right? They're fighting tonight, but we can't watch it until Christmas times. Can you imagine the stupidity in that? Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So yesterday we spoke about the Brian Shaw and his Strongest Man on Earth, and how much of a wonderful competition it is, except for him maxing everyone out. So I thought I would go down through some of the comments that you have made. A lot of people agreed with me, a lot of people disagreed with me. I don't know why really, because I'm never wrong. Ever. So we're going to quickly dive into these comments, and if you've any comments after this, I'm going to run into maybe tomorrow. God, look at you get to see me 3 times a week. So let's do the first one. This is by SoulRack81. I'd love to have when I see these people, I'd love to have a bit of a more personal profile about you so I could see your face and stuff, because some of you are absolute idiots, and some of you make valid points. So first up we have SoulRack81. Is Brian Shaw paying for the athlete medical care and rehab? And see, this is the point I was making yesterday. If you, for argument's sake, right, and it's a high possibility now because of the 7 max events. So you get injured in any one of these events, you're obviously going to either pull out or you're going to be thrown down in last place. And I think now his prize money is decent. But you're probably coming away with, like, if you get you get injured, you come last place. You come away with, I think it's $1,000 or $2,000. Let's say, for argument's sake, you tear a bicep or you tear a ham. Looking at it, it's probably these events, how bicep and how hamstringy they are, is probably looking at those injuries. I hope to God not, because there's nothing that annoys me more than when athletes get injured, because obviously I'm friends with a lot of these guys, and just hearing them, the pain in their voice when they have to say, oh, I have to go down and meet the surgeon, I have to get an MRI, I have to go and get surgery. It's just like, fuck's sake, all this for peanuts. We're the poorest sport in the world, and we have to put up with the most amount of shit. Because I don't know, I've never, like, there's so many bad injuries in strongman. So that's the point I was making. So you tear your hamstring. For argument's sake, you tear your hamstring. You're from the UK, you tear your hamstring. You get $1,000 for participating, $2,000 for participating. You fly back to the UK again, right? And I know this because Luke Richardson recently, his most recent injury was his hamstring tear. And his hamstring tear cost him either 20 or 25,000 pounds sterling. 25,000 pounds sterling. 25,000 pounds sterling is a lot of money. And it's just, and then you're sitting on your hole then for the next 6 months as well, micromanaging that injury, coming over the mental warfare, that it causes. And it's just so much on an athlete. And Brian Shaw isn't paying for any of this. Now, in saying that, no organisation does. I think there should be possibly something done about that, but see, then it's like insurance. Should the organizer have insurance that covers us, that if we do get injured, that they cover the cost? But even if they do cover the cost of the surgery, they're not going to cover the cost of being out of work or not being able to compete for 6 months afterwards, which is why these events need to be moderated and adjusted slightly, so there's not 7 max events. And that's just the point I'm making, because I want to see healthy athletes after this competition, you know. But moving on, this is Samina and Simon Anderson. Why 2017 Europe's Strongest Man was the ultimate comp without having to kill athletes. Heavy truck pull, max axle press, deadlift for reps, car yoke, heavy stone series, and a flip and drag medley. Perfectly balanced between static strength and mobility. No need to kill the athletes to prove who's the best. And that's this, I couldn't agree with you more. There's no need to kill the athletes to see who's the best. The best man's going to come out on top anyway, but we're trying to prevent the most amount of injuries. And that's a great point. 2017 Europe's Strongest Man was one of the greatest competitions that was ever aired ever. It was prime Eddie Hall versus prime Thor. It was just such a great competition. Thor came out on top. Eddie was gracious in defeat, shook his hand, gave him a little hug, pulled his t-shirt off. It was a great competition, so that is a great reference and a great point that we don't need 7 max events. 1, maybe 2 is enough. So next we have Mr. Junior. This is one of the profiles I'd like to see more about you after seeing this comment. Obviously, if they are going to get injured, they aren't strong enough. This is so stupid. My God, Mr. Junior, bang your head off the corner of a table. Get stronger. This is what being the world's strongest man or strongest man on earth is about. No, it's not. Not a bunch of light ass moving events benefiting the most agile guy and not the strongest. I haven't seen Thor or any other large guys complaining. You will. I mean, Hooper put out a video basically the same thing that I'm saying, and he's number 1 in contention of winning. Just the undersized strongmen that have gotten out by over the last decade because of lighter events at World's Strongest Men. I guarantee if I was a competitor, I wouldn't be crying. I take it as a challenge. You aren't being forced to continue past the point of getting injured. You can stop if you aren't strong enough. Mr. Junior, you're probably the biggest idiot on YouTube. I've no doubt in my mind about that. There's so much wrong with what you're saying there. You need to bang your head off the table, please, for 10 minutes. Moving on. VR Pag. Man, I got nothing but love for your pa and respect your opinion, but the strongest man on earth, not the fittest strongman, not best overall strongman, but the strongest man. See, you're another idiot. Because if by that, right, you're saying that, for argument's sake, Europe's strongest man or world's strongest man or isn't, we don't lift heavy weights there. For argument's sake, Europe's strongest man just gone, and it was the lighter said it's 360 kilo deadlift on an axle bar for reps. If you think that's fit, you should be able to do it. Go into the gym today, deadlift 360 kilos, 800 pounds on an axle bar for as many reps as you can get. And I guarantee you, you will pull none, because if you could, you'd understand that these other competitions aren't about fitness. You're just being an idiot. Oh, anyway, what else did you say, you cunt? I love this, and as an athlete, you have a possibility of injury warming up. No, the injury comes when you're maxing out in 7 events. You know your body, your capabilities, and see, you don't know your body. If you don't know when you're going to injure, you don't know, like as a strongman, you don't know your capabilities. Competing is where you find it out and seeing if what you've done in the past 10, 12 weeks of training has worked. And should be smart enough to call it when needed. We're strongmen, we're not smart. Like that's the point. Like these strongmen that are competing are going to leave it all out on the stage there. They're not going to hold back. We don't hold back. The idea of going to competition is try and win a competition and win the prize money and win the trophy. No one holds back really, unless you have the option to, if you're that far ahead that you can hold back a little bit. Just my opinion. I'm glad we have finally have a who's the strongest comp again that we used to see at the Arnold's. Brian would do this show and he would be happy to do it again, in my opinion. Much love either way. Hope nobody gets injured. I don't think, I can tell you, Brian would have a massive issue with this competition. I remember when Brian first started This Is True Lies 909. I remember when Brian first started the Shaw Classic. Pa was always asking for an invite. He never got one, and ever since he has been booty tickled. And it's clear now. Pa, up your game. Just because you're too weak to compete, there's no need to put your limitations on others. This is the strongest man on the planet. Listen, I did a couple of years ago, joking around with Brian Shaw, love to get invited. But you're right, I have absolutely no business there. Like, typically he invites, is it 10 or 12 of the world's strongest men? I am not top 10 or 12 of the world's strongest men, and I never was. It was a joke, and I saw lots of these comments of me begging to go. It was a joke. Oh my God, Pat told a joke. It's so weird. Moving on, Carl H296. Hope Brian listens to you and others on this matter. Next, Pa. Comment on Hooper's video, RE, World's Strongest Man Treatment of Athletes, if you dare. You know, I've watched that video a couple of times, and I'm going to put out my own video reacting to Hooper on what he said about Worlds. But I'm going to be honest, like, off the top of my, I can't disagree with anything that he says, to be honest. There's a couple of things there, like he was on about, he was being disrespected at a bit, and to be honest, he has been disrespectful towards World as well at a point. Um, but I can't argue with anything that he says there. It's just so far behind these other competitions in terms of, like, when people ask me previously when I've gone to World's Strongest Man, oh, when can we watch it? And I'm like, oh, you can watch it in 9 months' time when it's on TV. It's so outdated what they're doing with World's Strongest Man. It's so outdated that it's limiting stuff like sponsors. It's limiting the growth of the sport in itself. And when you put limitations like, oh, we can't watch it at Christmas times, it kills the sport. And it's what makes it one of the poorest sports in the world. It's just such a shame that this contract that they signed, I think it's with CBS, that they are the only ones and they have to air it for us at Christmas times. I wish we could burn that contract and put it in the bin and get with the times and put a live stream on. And I can guarantee you they would make their money. I don't know what CBS pays them, but they would make their money on that live stream. And even if they didn't, listen to your fans. Give them what they want. If I don't go this year, or if I don't go for the next 10 years, I'd love to be able to watch it live. This shite of having to wait till Christmas to watch World's Strongest Man. Can you imagine if that was Johnny Bones Jones fighting Tom Aspinall, right? They're fighting tonight, but we can't watch it until Christmas times. Can you imagine the stupidity in that? And that's what World's Strongest Man is. That's how stupid that is. That whole scenario is. I honestly think, moving on, Jay Logan, I honestly think Brian forgets, even among strongmen, he's a freak of nature. So while it may seem doable to him, the average top 20 is like, do I even want to do this show? And I know that they're going to be walking into that thinking this, and I've spoken to a few of them, that they're thinking this. It's a lot to put on the line, because you get injured, you're fucked for the next 6 months. And I think Brian does forget that Brian was 6'8" or 9", and he was, at one point, he was close to 500 pounds body weight, and the man could run with that body weight. He was a fit 450, 500 pound athlete. And you know, when you get older, and you obviously hear the old guy in the gym, oh, when I was younger, I used to lift 400 kilos, and like, he never did. He never did. I used to bench press 200 kilos back in my day. He never did. But they have this idea in their head that they were so strong back in the day. Now, I'm not saying that Brian Shaw's wasn't strong. What I'm trying to say is, I think Brian is just looking at this event. Yeah, I could do that. Yeah, I could do that. These are so easy. But like, not everyone is that size of a man and had the capabilities he has. And I even think it'd be risky to him if he tried to attempt 7 max out events. It's risky to everyone, to be honest. Pat for one, they are all other strongmen comps, and then there's the Shaw, strongest man on earth. This is the Mac Daddy. This is the Pinnacle. It's not. Your strongest man on earth is a great show. It's not the Pinnacle. The Pinnacle is world's strongest man, and it always will be. And don't be under any illusions that any competition will ever top world's strongest man, because if you ask any of the athletes which title would they want the most, it's world's strongest man. So you're wrong. If you want basic competition, the others are for that. If you want to be truly tested against the strongest men on the planet to determine who is effective, blah, blah, blah. Shut up. Riviera 445. World's strongest man is so far behind every other competition at this point. No women, no live stream, treat athletes like crap. Lol, who cares about world's strongest man at this point? Everyone does. Everyone cares about world's strongest man, and I can guarantee you every strongman fan will watch World's Strongest Man. Even if we have to wait 9 months for it, we'll still be watching it. We all know the flaws of World's Strongest Man. I never actually thought about that point before about no women. It's not a major one, to be honest. I think there's lots of other things that need to be fixed before that. Johnny Arm Wrestling. The show is called Strongest Man on Earth, so the events make sense. Also, if it was that bad, then don't compete. Simple as that. That has to be the most annoying comment, and it came up a lot of times on that. Same with the next comment. I feel like athletes could just refuse to do it. No one is forcing them to compete there. That's stupid. That's the most stupid comment I've seen. No one is forcing them to be there. This is their job, their livelihood, the thing they love to do, and it's a great achievement to be even invited to the strongest man on earth. So making a comment, no one's forcing them to do it. Shut up. Shut up, please. You're talking horse dung. Because they all want to do it. Every athlete, every strongman athlete in the world would love an opportunity to compete at strongest man on earth. So stop saying that, please, because you just sound like an idiot. Okay, just stop, please. Stop it. So that's all I'm going to cover on today. Those are a couple of ones that I saw that I thought I should answer. If there's anything more you'd like me to comment in this video, let me know what you think. Obviously, I'm going to cover, I think, what Mitchell Hooper said about World's Strongest Man, but we'll see. Anyway, thank you all. Love you. Subscribe. Good luck to you.